Turning destiny. What's happening, everybody? Hope that you are doing well. I had a great Q&A session as we're getting ready to count down, headed to Ghana tomorrow. I've been in 3 countries this month. It would be 3 African countries this month. Sierra Leone, that's right, Sierra Leone, then South Africa, and then back to Ghana. So that's I'm excited about it. And okay, I'm looking here. Okay, cool. All right, so I'm just looking at some of the different things here. Hope that everyone's doing well. And let's see, I'm just checking in before I dive into this. All right, excellent. All right, cool. Again, hope that everybody's doing well, and I am getting ready to yay. Okay, cool. All right, I'm looking. Again, hope everybody's doing well. I'm just just wrapped up this Q&A and trying to check out a couple different things here. Okay, let me see how this flows. But nevertheless, all right, we're good. All right. So with and I'm looking just to make sure, just looking to check a couple things here. All right. Let me try one more thing, and then we'll dive into this. Okay. That looks good. All right. I just want to make sure that I am doing this the right way, and we are good. And then then we can do that, and then I can kick off. I'm doing it. Perfection. All right, good. All right, so I'm good now. All right. So anyway, I wanted to make sure that I was set up on my end doing what I need to do. All right, so here's the thing. That in the title, it says, and it was talking about why I'll be a Bi-Continental citizen. And because for some people, I guess they're either or, one or the other. But I've always said partaking in both. And hey, Eric, come here real quick. Oh, what's it? No, I'm not. I just want to stick your head through the thing, man. I don't need you to say anything. Just say you, man. You can cover your head. I just want you to pop your head through, let them know you're back alive and good, man. That's all. You don't have to say nothing, man. Well, just wrap something on the head here. Throw this on the head, man. Come on. I even got the little game changer thing you can put on your head. Come on, man. Oh man. Anyway. All right. So my man is back. He's back from Egypt. And he did his thing in Egypt. So let me show you this real quick. So this is him. This is my oldest son on his African adventure to Egypt by himself. He did it, and he did it debt-free, and he's back. So we are thankful that he's back safely, and he had his experience while at the same time in South Africa. So that was really cool to be able to have the family represented in those 2 different parts. Hello, hey, O'Shea, how you doing? All right, good to see you. So anyway, I'm getting ready to head back to Ghana tomorrow. We're getting ready for our summer tours, and we just did a Q&A on Zoom talking about this, and I'll probably be talking about this pretty much every day in some capacity, because I believe it is so important for people, especially those who are part of the African diaspora, to see West Africa. I mean, we're doing, let me tell you a little bit about what we're doing. At Maximum Impact Travel, what we're doing is creating 10 African experiences that are going to include probably out of those 10, you're probably going to get about 15 different countries in the mix. And so with our introductory country, it is Ghana, because of and we're telling stories. It's like a piece, it's like puzzles. And so if you just imagine the continent of Africa with 54 different pieces, there are pieces to the puzzle, and then you're kind of connecting dots. So while I do not have a favorite African country, I can tell you that right now, I do not have a favorite African country. I do recognize that there are certain countries that are particularly important to the African diaspora. Now, a lot of people don't know what the term diaspora means. And when you think about the African diaspora, it is those people who have been, in the context that we use it, those people who have been displaced as a result of the different slave trades. So it's not just the European slave trade, but you also have the Arab slave trade and the trans-Saharan slave trade, which was actually taking place on the continent. And you had different migrations within the continent of Africa. So you had people coming from the north going to the south and vice versa, and all those different things happening just because of this commerce that was occurring, which was human capital. So one of the when I talk about the African diaspora in particular, I'm speaking of those of us in that were displaced as a result of the different slave trades, who are now realizing that much of the history we've been taught in school either has been non-existent or inaccurate, or even if it was accurate, it was only brought from one standpoint. So when they told us that Christopher Columbus discovered America, that was foolishness. But we have a holiday in America called Columbus Day. If we answered something different on a test, we would be penalized because we didn't say Christopher Columbus discovered America. How do you discover something that already has people there, people who already had cultures and languages and their own history and their own systems and all of that, but somehow Christopher Columbus gets credit for it? Now, he might have discovered it for himself, but when we start looking at history, you start looking at who controls history and who has controlled the narratives, and you begin, as you spend more time on the continent, and you take the whether it be the UK experience, the Canadian experience, or the American experience, or the Brazilian experience, or the Central American experience, or even the Afro-Asian experience, you begin to understand that much of what we have been taught has either been taught with one angle or it's been inaccurate. And so it's important. That's why I say I'm not going to give up my rights to the place that I have been born. And it's purely business. It has I have no emotional connection to it or anything like that, because I understand all of these countries are businesses and corporations and they run on capitalism. So that's the first thing to understand. But where the emotional component comes in is when you begin to meet the people and spend time with the people. And then when you begin to understand the global issues that have occurred over the years. And so when I start looking at Ghana begins to add a different context to the story. So it starts teaching the history in places like Ghana. You have it in Senegal, you have it at Bunce Island in Sierra Leone, you have it at the different places of no return in Togo and Benin and Nigeria and Cameroon and Gabon and Angola. You begin to look at this and understand that there is a lot of misinformation that is out here. And putting it in a book is cool, but when you begin to actually spend time in these places, you expand your worldview, you expand as a person, you begin to see things differently, you begin to appreciate things in a completely different context. That's what happened with me. And so then I come back to America. And this is what I was saying this earlier today. I come back to America and it's hard for me to have conversations on some levels because when you start talking, you hear the misinformation coming out, and you hear someone say something that's like, that's not even right. Those Africans don't like us. I'm like, nah, I didn't quite have that experience. I'm sure if you go to certain people, you might have that experience if you go to, but the whole continent can't be labeled based upon one experience with one person or two or three people, or they'll say, well, those Africans here that come to America, they don't like us. I said, well, there's a difference between those who like migrate somewhere and those who are indigenous. I said, so I said, you can't label a whole continent based upon your experiences with a few people, just a handful of people. But unfortunately, because we don't take the time to dive in deeper, that's oftentimes the way it's left. And vice versa, same thing happens if someone encounters someone from America who has, a stink attitude. That's the only way I could think of to say it. They encounter it and then they label all Americans or Black Americans or African Americans or whatever you want to call us, based upon that. So, but my experience has been very different. Some of the nicest people I've met have been on the continent of Africa, and honestly, some of the nicest people I've met, once they saw, even those who have come to America from Africa, even those people have been nice. Once I extended the kindness to even want to learn about their culture and their history. So here's the challenge many of us in America have, because we have been trained under three systems. As I think about it, we've been trained under nationalism, and what nationalism does is basically it's like America supremacy. So America's the best of this, that, and the other. America, you can't tell us nothing. We America, we are the shiggity. We are the ones who out here doing the daggone thing. This is who we are. We are the best. That's a form of brainwashing. I want y'all to know that. And so depending on which institutions you participate in, you might be brainwashed. Because while we do have a lot of great things, a lot of wonderful, great things in America, we are not the best of everything. And we are not the ones, we don't have a monopoly on prosperity. And especially when you understand the history of what creates prosperity in the world, oftentimes it's murder and theft, and they call it conquest. So you'll hear the word conquest used, and that sounds so dignified. We conquested everything, and we did such and such, and no, we just killed and raped everybody and burned everything up and tore everything down, and we didn't offer any type of restitution or reparation or anything. We just tore it up, and because that's what we were supposed to do, and that's the mentality of a lot of these places. And so, unfortunately, many of us have adopted that mentality too. So we have a nationalist brainwashing where we believe that we're superior. And then when we get into the educational system, and obviously with the education that's being distributed, it's going to always have an angle. Well, we're learning about George Washington and John Quincy Adams and John Adams and John Hancock and Thomas Jefferson and Andrew Jackson and Abraham Lincoln and all these different people. And we, as people who we've been trained to think that these people are like our founding fathers, like them jokers ain't my founding fathers. They didn't have any respect. There was no respect for the humanity and the humans that they owned. And they're like, well, that was just a culture back then. Get out of my face with that foolishness. It was brutality. It was terrorism. And so when you begin to start looking at the play on words, and you see it from both sides of the Atlantic, you start seeing it differently. It's if you're looking with those particular eyes. And so you have the nationalist standpoint, you have the education standpoint, and then you have the religious standpoint. And so all of these angles have an air of supremacy, an air of we are doing it, we are the best, and we're doing it right, and everyone else is doing it wrong. But so now, if you only stay in that bubble, and that's the only thing you know, those are only books you read, that's the only culture you interact with, those are the only people you talk to, and maybe you look at other people from other places and you see them as uncivilized, because this is a part of the indoctrination that occurred when you understand the history of colonization. You go to a land, you demonize the people, you take their land, you take their culture, you turn them into low wage property, and you build your wealth. And that is the way of the world. And I mean, it didn't just happen with Europeans. This thing happened with on the continent, within different ethnic groups and all of that. You see all of that stuff happening. It happened in South America. So wherever humanity is, you always see where someone is looking to dominate or have a conquest over the next person. So in standing in these places and replaying my life, I'm saying, wow, I've been indoctrinated. I've been indoctrinated on a lot of different levels, because someone told me from a child, someone taught me and gave me education on this level, but they left this piece of the puzzle out. That's a problem, They told me this was right, but they never taught me about that. Why didn't they teach me about that? What is it they didn't want me to know? Why didn't they want me to know this? Why is it that everyone told me that Africa was bad, Africa was sick, Africa was poor, Africa was uncivilized, but yet when I go there, I see everyone else from all of these different ethnic groups building their fortunes in Africa. But that, the way that my community sees it, they have no interest. So many people don't even want to identify as even having African DNA. They want anything but Africa. I'm Cherokee, and they ain't got a drop of Cherokee. Let me tell you how deep, or they might have one drop. Let me tell you how deep this thing went. In my family, um, on my father's side in particular, they run around talking about, they got all this Indian blood and all this other kind of stuff. I mean, this I'm telling y'all, this how black folks got messed up in their head. So they tell them we Indian, and all that. Now, don't nobody really know for real, because don't nobody know. So I do the DNA. And I runs the DNA. I'm thinking I'm about to find, all right, we got this Indian thing happening. Indian, even to call it Indian is ignorant, for real. When you still not breaking it down. So, but that tells you that's the education system again. So I run the DNA, and my DNA comes back. It was no surprise in a sense, but it was, and this is on multiple platforms. This is not like one platform, multiple platforms. And I know people are skeptical about the DNA. That stuff isn't real. I'm telling you that I know it's real because all my sons did it, and they're my sons. All right. My boys, they belong to me. So, but like my aunt's granddaughter, so my father's sister's granddaughter, we didn't even know each other existed, but she did it, and it linked us just like that. I got my nephews linked. I mean, the people, I got second cousins I found that we didn't even know existed. So for people saying that it's fraudulent and all of that, I know based upon the facts that it's very legitimate. So that's that. So going through this whole thing with the DNA and going back into the whole Indian thing. So I'm expecting to see, all right, well, we got some Chickasaw, Cherokee, we can go on through and name a few other things, and in my profile, I looked at what my profile kind of got like that thing. Yeah. So anyway, 1%, 1%, 1%. The rest, Africa, mostly West African. I got like 10% Kenyan. And then the rest is European. You go up into Switzerland and Denmark and Ireland and Great Britain and Iberian Peninsula, Spain, Portugal, France, Italy, like 2.5%, Italian, Nigerian, obviously Sierra Leone popped up in there, Ghanaian, Ivory Coast, Cameroon, all through that whole West African region, Mali, Burkina Faso. All of that to say that the way that I've observed the culture that I came up in, nobody wanted any association with Africa. And I said, where does that come from? And I think the part for me, it hurts because there's so much wealth and so much beauty in this place that everyone else has discovered, but the people who have the genetic links to it don't want anything to do with it. So it's like throwing away like valuable pieces of the puzzle for the sake of something that has been stolen. It's for the sake of, it's hard to take pride in something where from its inception, it has stolen everything. And so then when, so you again, you go through the nationalist side of it, you go through the educational side, then you take the religious side, you put all of those together. And what it does, it creates this indoctrination. And and people on the outside who create the systems, they kind of sit back and laugh because they're like, look at them, they're confused. They don't know what to do. They're trying to figure it out. And then what you do is you watch these same people who have been created in a sense in a lab, not in a lab, but by way of rape and all of that kind of stuff. You watch them with their respective traumas try to navigate it. So it's like it's like all these traumas happen, but then people gaslight it and say you shouldn't feel that, you should just get over it, just leave that thing alone, just get off. But how do you I mean, I guess the question is, how do you get over something without like understanding what really happened to you? And that's why you see a lot of people who are angry and frustrated, and you're seeing them saying they want to leave America and they want to go all these other places. Then you have this other group of people saying, I'm not leaving America, this is my home, this is what God gave me, and my ancestors died and bled here, and I'm not going anywhere. And so you have this where people spend more time fighting and arguing with each other over these things. And then the people who either benefit from the mess or created the mess, they continue to fuel the wealth and build and do what they need to do. And the people just kind of go with the flow of confusion, trying to figure it out. So once I saw all of this, I said, well, first of all, I'm no longer confused because I know I see what happened. And I understand the game, and this is why I say financial literacy is so important. It is so important because when you understand global systems, now you're able to say, this is what's going on. And this is the other thing I noticed, that a lot of times when people like me who come from where I come from, we get caught up in the emotion of it all. We get emotional, our feelings get hurt, they don't accept us, they don't like me, they unfollowed me. I don't care. You got to get to the point where you just don't care. It's like, okay, I don't want you to follow me if that's the case. If it's that deep, don't follow me. It's 43 million, there's billions of people in the world. Ain't nobody tripping on some people following them, but a lot of people are because of just the conditioning. So people are able to exploit those insecurities, which come by way of whatever family history or whatever things, because then I replay and I listen, I replay the people that taught me as a child, and I replay the teachers that taught me as a child. And some of them were great. Some of them were on point, but some of them were just as lost as the next. So it was like the blind leading the blind. You get to a point and you say, all right, what do we do with this? And how do we combat this? So I've concluded that the first weapon in combating this is education. The first weapon is education. A lot of people don't want to really embrace the real education because they've been indoctrinated for so long and believe that they've been so right for so long that anything that comes along and challenges that causes the cognitive dissonance to where they say, I'm stuck. So-and-so taught me my whole life this way, so that's the only way. Or maybe they've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in being educated a particular way to get to the end of that, to find out that they really don't know as much as what they thought they knew. So not to negate what they do know, but to say, well, there's a little bit more to this. Or what happens is people try to kind of fit you into their box of understanding versus saying that there are multiple layers to this. There are multiple boxes of understanding. But just as diverse as the continent of Africa is, and just as diverse as America is, there's so many different aspects and perspectives to be considered in this global story. And nobody's story is the same. So it cannot be presented in a monolithic way. That's why when people say the Black experience, I'm like, well, I hear what you're saying about the Black experience, but everybody's Black experience is not the same. So you can't force me into your Black experience box and saying that is the Black experience. That's your Black experience. That's just like Christopher Columbus discovered America for himself. But then what about the Moors? And what about the other people who already had boats long before Christopher Columbus came along, who were able to go across the Atlantic and to go into Brazil and to go into the Caribbean and go into what we know as America. And they did that long before Christopher Columbus came along. So how do we explain these African artifacts in South America? How do we explain these different artifacts that have been found? And this is not to say that people came from Africa and all went there, because they had people who were already indigenous to those places. But to think that Christopher Columbus was the first person who did exploration is naive at best. But it just goes to show that when whoever records the history, whoever conquests, whoever goes and begins to tell the story, that's the story that people believe. So one of the problems that I do see on the continent is the global colonization. And the problem that I see is the same problem that we have in America, where we're all trying to assimilate into European standards of whatever. So we're saying that, even when it comes to the educational systems in much of Africa, is based upon European standards because of the conquest. So you have France, who they conquested, I'm just conquered most of or great part most of West Africa. That's why you have so many francophone countries. But then what you see among what you'll see among the Africans who are in many of those French-speaking countries, they aspire to be accepted by the French. Just like in the English-speaking countries, you will see where these people, their aim is to be accepted in Canada, UK, or America. Now, a lot of times this is for financial resources, which nobody is upset about, because the resources, obviously, when you conquer something, you have the resources and you can rewrite the laws and you can go in and do whatever it is that you want to do because you have done your conquest. This is the part of history that our children don't know. This is the part when they go to school and we put them in these school systems in America, because they're not going to teach this, but to a certain extent. They're modifying it a little bit. And then obviously, if the parents don't know it, the children don't know it, they sit in front of the television and they say, well, we want to be like so-and-so, this entertainer or this ball player, without realizing that the people who did the conquest or the conquering, they own those teams. And it's still a form of modern day field slavery. It's still a form of it. It's high paid. Some people say, well, I'll take millions of dollars to get out there. But the reality of it is still the same. Let me put these people out here. I'll make billions. I'll pay them enough. Now got to pay them a little bit more. But when you even think about college sports, and the pimpery that takes places with these universities and how much money these universities make, and they don't even allow these students. Now, of course, there's legislation now. They're talking about compensating them. But when you start understanding the level of pimpery that takes place with these colleges, where they regulate them, okay, we'll give you a education, and half the time that education, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. Just depends on which major you pick. See, that's why it's important to understand economics. So somebody might get a full ride. Well, they'll get a full ride. They got paid $100,000, but yeah, they blew out the knee, and now 35 years old and can barely walk because of what they did in college or whatever. That sounds very similar to what would happen back in the day. You work them into the ground, you make all the money off of them, and then when they're no good, you just kind of toss them to the side. I mean, that's how that whole thing was played. So again, now for those few that make it to the top and to the top of the food chain, they have a different story. What I'm recognizing is when it comes to the educational component, this is why you see me traveling so much, because I'm making up the lost time. I'm making up for the indoctrinations. I'm making up for no, y'all, no. It's like you find out you've been in a relationship with someone for your whole life and find out they've been cheating on you your whole life. And they're like, you mean to tell me that there's a whole other world out here? You've been telling me that this world out here didn't exist and this whole world has been out here. And that's the reality of it. Because when you see it, when I spend time in Ghana, when I spend time in South Africa, when I spend time in Sierra Leone, and I see this other world that has been hidden, or it's been placed in a context that made it where it was not desirable for me to want to go visit, because again, I've been indoctrinated. I've been indoctrinated with American nationalism. I've been indoctrinated on religious levels to see these people as in need. They need what I have, but they already have what I have because they had the same colonizer. They had the same teachers. They had the same people. They had the same stuff, the same systems that I had. So they really don't need what I have in that sense. Only thing they need from me really is just the resources that I have. So as I'm looking at this and I'm saying, wow, this thing is much deeper than, and it's been around, it's been in existence, it's been here long before I got here, it'll be here long after I'm gone. But when it's almost like we all leave little deposits along the way. and we all talk about solutions, and we all talk about, we march and we protest and we do all these different things. And I said, yeah, that's cool. I said, but we got to put some tangible things together. We need some curriculums to be put together. We need people to travel and see. We need to have a cultural shift. And that's what you see me doing with these tours, a cultural shift where I play my part, whatever, in however and wherever it goes, a cultural shift so people understand that there's more to this story than what's meeting the eye. There's more to this. And I wish I would have known, and some things happen at the time it's supposed to happen in your life. I wish I would have known this years ago when I was teaching my children, because I didn't know to teach them certain things. Now I teach them. That's why my son, he's gone and he's exploring. And I'm saying, man, look, you're 21, explore the world. Don't wait till you're 45 to figure this stuff out. As a matter of fact, go do your thing. Go fly. Just like little Johnny from Bethesda, he gets to go fly and explore the world. You go fly and explore the world, just like little Johnny gets to go around and fly and explore the world and take gap years and do all the stuff that little Johnny wants to do. You do it too. Understand that when you come back, you now take those lessons and you begin to build it, and you lead the message and mission that you're supposed to lead. You take that and you build upon it. You become your own man out of it, and you begin to craft your story. See, these are the conversations as parents we begin having with our children, and saying, hey, look, turn them video games off, and let's get a little bit deeper with this thing. Well, they're young, they have time. I tell my son, you don't have time. What are you talking about? You got time. Tomorrow's not promised. What are you talking about? You got time to do what? Fumble around for 5 years, and then all of a sudden you wake up at 28 talking about, dang, I got to do something with my life, and you just wasted 6 years. You just wasted prime energy years. You just wasted your youth because you want to fumble around goofing off. Like, nah, man, get out here, establish a foundation, start saving and investing your money, because the way that time and money works over time, as you accumulate it while you're young, it can multiply and it can develop more or build more over time. Start making your investments early so that those investments can begin bringing a return early. Do not subscribe to what these people out here telling people that they have time, because the more they tell them they have time, the more they procrastinate. And that's why you have a generation of people 38, 39, 40, 50 years old talking about, I'm trying to figure it out. Trust me, I know, as my generation, so many of my generation, like, wow, we're trying to figure it out, and we're approaching 50 years old talking, we're trying to figure it out because somebody told us we had time and didn't put a sense of urgency under us to say, no, don't waste time, because tomorrow is not promised. As a matter of fact, take each day, make the most of each day, apply something to each day. Learn something new each day. Get outside of the box. Education is not just along a curriculum. Even understanding who prescribed and created these systems that we idolize so much, understanding that even those systems can become a handicap if we're not willing to break outside of the mold. Use it for what it's worth. If it can get you a career, if it can bring you resources, then knock that thing out the park. But understand that education is just not one thing. Someone saying, I'm educated because I have a degree or 2 or 3. You're educated in that field. But I'm talking to more and more people who are realizing I'm educated in a specific field, but there's so much more to learn. And so as we begin to teach our children these different things and encourage them to explore and encourage them to go out and recognize, teaching them accurate history, and teaching them to see for themselves, what begins to happen is the narrative begins to change and people begin to tell their own stories. That's why you see YouTube blowing up the way that it is with so many content creators, because they're starting to tell their own stories. They're starting to go out and say, no, they're pushing back against the narratives. And as people are trying, as in America, they're trying to erase what actually happened from the history books, because they're saying, just get over it. No, it didn't happen like that. They were immigrants. No, they were raped. They were murdered. They were stolen. All of these things happened. It was terrorism. And so when you begin to tell the truth about it, that's when the real healing can begin. Just trying to act like something didn't happen and it still doesn't have an effect is ignorant, it's naive, it's simple-minded, it's uneducated. But there are a lot of people, a lot of educators who are now actually allowing this to occur. But what we have to do is push back and say, nah, y'all crazy. And you got to break it down and say, y'all crazy. And we're not going out like that. You know, got to bring that that vernacular and call it for what it is. Y'all straight crazy. And we're not going out like that. And so when you get enough people who know how to communicate, who know how to create content, who know how to put systems together to be able to inspire the necessary changes, it transcends all ethnicities. This is what I tell people. This is not just a Black American thing or African thing. There are people who are of other ethnicities raising brown and Black children. And they don't want to erase their identity, because you see those situations where little Black kids are adopted by a white family or a different family, and then the little Black kid that has no cultural connection to being brown in the world, but they know something's off. You know, they're like, I'm different here, and they're trying to connect the dots. But then you have the other families who are like, yo, the white families raising the brown children. They said, no, we're going to make sure especially if they adopt them from Africa, we're going to make sure we take you back to Namibia. We're going to make sure you stay connected to your tribe. We're going to make sure that you know your name. We're not going to change your name. We're going to make sure that so I applaud those families, those families of different ethnicities who adopt those children and make sure they don't lose their cultural identity. For us, if we're going to really make an impact, we're going to need to be able to say and encourage, and this is a little different than the tours. It's kind of like the two missions that I have with our youth and connecting people to the continent of Africa. Those are two. That's it. Those are my two agendas all together. That's it. Because I don't want another generation or two or three to grow up believing the foolishness that I was taught. But then there's another generation that came before me. And before they leave this earth, they want to go and see this for themselves. That's why when Mr. Archibald, when he went at 89, I guess he's 91, 92 now, he went to Ghana for the first time. And he was amazed. And I was like, wow. I said, man, I'm able to, facilitate this for him and his wife. And she turned 85 on the trip. His wife turned 85 on the trip. I was like, wow, this is like humbling. Next week, when we have our tour, week after next, we have our June tour in Ghana. We have a gentleman who's 73, 74 years old, and he's going. His wife passed away before she had a chance to go last year and to the continent. So now he's going. And I'm like, wow, I'm honored to be able to lead people to see this. So we haven't forgotten our seniors. We haven't forgotten our children. We're working on putting together tours for our youth, and not these pity tours that people take the kids over and we can go over there and help the poor children because they need to see how privileged y'all is, and y'all going over there and y'all help the poor little African children, and y'all going over there, and that's how we send them over there. My thing is, y'all need to come over here and y'all need to learn from them. That's what you need. You need to sit your butt down and learn from these children in Africa and learn some things from them, and don't come over here thinking that you got everything going on. And so those types of tours we'll put together because we for the youth, because we send our children over there. Oh, go on over there to help them kids out now, and take some of your spare shoes now. Don't take your good shoes now. Take your spare shoes over there because they need your shoes now. They're walking around with bare feet. Let me tell you something about the bare feet situation. Let me tell you, this was a moment in my life. So I was in Zanzibar. That's what I tell you, got to go see things for yourself. I'm in Zanzibar. And so we were walking out to the boat to go to this place called Prison Island. And my man Ali, he just took off his shoes. And we were walking out to the boat. And I said, he took off his shoes. He walked on them shells and rocks and everything like it wasn't nothing. Man, I took off my shoes and my little virgin colonized American feet started walking on them rocks, and I about wanted to cry. I was like, I said, can I put my shoes back on, please? I said, you see what they did to me? They made my feet soft. And so they laughed. So they can walk with no shoes. Yeah, see, so they were good. Their feet were prepared for those rocks. I'm sitting up there. Can I put my shoes back on, please? Real quick, can I put my shoes on? And I realized in that moment that I was the one who had the problem. So, and it's not to say that people don't need shoes and don't need clothes and don't need these different necessities and don't need school supplies. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that we go with a mentality of being the savior or being the person to help without recognizing these people have just as much value. They know things we don't know. They know things, they bring things to the table. We can't live off of the land the way they live off of the land. And so that's the part that if we, okay, I'm gonna bring some shoes, but can you show me how you irrigate that, how you make that corn grow like that, and how you get those melons and those different things that grow a particular way? How do you all live? What do you do? Tell me about your life. Tell me how you live. So those are the types of things that you begin to see. And then I tell people at the same time, we still have a great time. We still go and enjoy all aspects of these different countries because they have so much to offer. And that's where the walls of misinformation come down. That's why when people come back, they're looking at things a little different. They're like, yeah, yeah, but I know how they're living over there. Meaning some places, extreme poverty, some places, extreme wealth. No different than America. It's just we don't go to the places in America to see it because we have a nationalist brainwashing to think that that does not exist in America, to think that our poverty is somehow different. But if you go down to Arkansas, you go to the rural areas of Arkansas, the rural areas of Mississippi, just about the rural areas of any state in America, you'll find no running water. You'll find people living in shacks. You'll find people using a bathroom in a hole in the ground or an outhouse. You'll find people with barely no food. You go to any of these different, it doesn't even have to be an inner city. It could be a rural area. You go from the trailer parks to the hood to wherever, and you'll find these conditions that you'll find in Africa, in different parts of Africa. Same exact conditions. Same thing in Paris. You'll find slums in Paris that'll rival any slum in any part of Africa. You'll find slums in Germany. You'll find slums in the UK. You'll find slums anywhere in those European countries. You'll find slums in Brazil. You find slums in Mexico. You'll find slums everywhere in the world. But for us to think in America, somehow we don't have that going on, again, speaks to the lack of education, to the nationalism that we've been indoctrinated with, the brainwashing that we've been indoctrinated with, and just the cultural, the historical and cultural ignorance that we deal with. And so I didn't want to be like that. I just didn't want to be like that. I said, I listened to these people. I listened to these preachers all these years telling me that somehow we were blessed and favored above everyone else without realizing this was blood money. This was blood money. This was money. This stuff that happened here was blood money, people off of people's backs. But somehow we were better than everyone else. And then I go and I watch, I go to the churches in Ethiopia, and I watch these people praise and worship the same God these people claim to be worshiping and praising in America, but they don't have all the glitz and glamour and all of the apps and everything else that's going on. And if it's hot, it's hot. They got to do it. It is what it is. I see them in Ethiopia worshiping the same Jesus that they claim to be worshiping in America. I go down to South Africa. The same now. Now the whole fake white Jesus thing, that's a whole nother ball game. That's a whole nother story. But I'm looking at this and I'm saying to myself, there's something off. There's something off. There's something off. There's something wrong. There's something off. Something crazy going on here. For people to think that they are better and have a lock on things because they have a certain amount of money, without realizing that the things that they benefit from is a result of the exploitation of the people that they claim that they're going to help. So the people in wherever, if you pay them what they're worth for the cocoa, then the chocolate bar is going to cost you $5 more. But we have been so indoctrinated to think that our financial means that we're blessed, whether we stole it or not, or whether it was stolen from someone else or not. Whether it was taken, whether people killed or murdered or whatever, or not. Don't matter. I got it. So I'm privileged. Because of that. That's because when you don't know the whole story, or at least more of the story, you begin to run with it. And then it becomes recycled. And people are told, well, see, they're over there. Aren't you just so blessed and such and such and such and such? Once I understood that I wasn't as blessed as what I thought, And when I say that, meaning from the standpoint of I might have the resources, but they're deficiencies. So I'm not as blessed because I have money. Because if that money is coming at their expense, then how blessed am I really? I'm benefiting because I'm benefiting because they're not being paid what they're supposed to be paid. Or else my house costs 3 times more because I have to pay for the copper. The copper's price goes up because I got to pay the people who are mining the copper 3 times more the wage. So the cheaper the wage, the cheaper the cost for me. So I benefit from that. And all of us benefit from that. So I stopped and I think and I said, wow, I said this story is much deeper. And so my compassion level goes one for us, because of where we are in all of this, our mindsets and our attitudes. And I hear uppity folks talk and they live in there, they complain about being mistreated in America. They complain about I don't get fair advantages. And I've been on and they got all this crying and whining. But they could care less about the people that basically perform slave labor so they can live the lifestyle, their unfair lifestyle. Could care less. Don't have no interest in wanting to see them. Don't care nothing about them. And all they want to do is they're concerned about their next commission, concerned about their next raise, concerned about their next, give me this, give me that, you give me, complain, give me. All right, well, I'm gonna leave. And then when they're ready to leave, guess where they want to go? They want to go run to those very places that they could care less about. But the sad part about it is they're not going there to add anything to help the people. They're going there to carve out their place and tell the people to stay out. Don't come near me. We're going to build our exclusive communities because we want to get away from massa over here without realizing that you've been dealing with massa over here for all the same time. And as a matter of fact, yours might be a little bit worse because you don't even have the access to the financial resources. So I'm going to come over here and carve out my little place, exclude you, and then look to pimp you out the same way that we've been pimped out in America. Let me hire you as my house help and pay you nothing and talk to you like trash. Let me let you be my driver, pay you nothing, and talk to you and treat you like trash. Let me come over here with my whole uppity thing and take my little American dollars and come over here and treat you like trash. And there's so many people who do that. It is really a sad state of affairs. Now, a lot of people don't. A lot of people go and build up the communities, and they do it Bi-Continental. And that's what when I started talking about this, the whole Bi-Continental thing. They recognize that with the privileges that they have a responsibility. And so for some people, like I said, for some people, these conversations might be a little rough, and it's not like the touristy kind of conversation. Come on, and it's like, yo, if y'all know anything about me, I know how to throw a party. So throwing a party ain't no problem. But it's like we got to get deeper than that. We got to get out of this ghetto party mentality and say, okay, we party hard, but let's get out here and work hard too. That's the one thing I noticed about my European friend. They party, get drunk, pissy drunk, and everything else, but they get up and they go work hard and they do what they need to do and they keep building what they need to build. They'll fight each other and cuss each other out and they turn around and say, this business, we need to work it out. Oftentimes what we do, we fight, we don't even talk to each other again and try to tear the next person down and go through all of that stuff and got family members stealing from each other and all, just like low level ghetto stuff, you know what I'm saying? There's people that do, so what we have to start doing is saying, all right, how do we make this a win-win on both sides? That's what you see me doing. My staff in Ghana, I make it a win-win on both sides. My concern is not to exploit them. My concern is to say, how do we get you to where you want to go? You tell me the lifestyle that you're trying to live. I want to help you get there. Because right now, I've been blessed with a certain amount of privilege to be able to do certain things. I have a responsibility. And for me, I've certainly contributed a whole lot on stateside, and will continue to contribute stateside because I recognize what our children need. Because some folks my age, they're gone, they've been indoctrinated so bad. It'll take me another 50 years to try to get them to see things. He'll say, "Yo, you know that stuff ain't right." So So I don't even waste my time. If for those who have ears to hear, they hear it, boom, let's go, let's rock it out. But for the young folks who are like, hey, you know what? I see something that isn't right already, and I'm 25. Okay, cool. What you trying to do with that? 30 somethings, what you trying to do with that? 40, 50 somethings who waking up and saying, hey, something isn't right. What you trying to do with that? 75, 80, what you trying to do? And so those are the people who hear what I'm saying, hear it on a deeper level. And they recognize that this is a global thing. This is not a domestic thing. We've been indoctrinated domestically, but from the understanding of how the world works, it's global. And then somebody sits down and say, I need to learn a little bit more. Let me sit down and learn just a little bit more. Let me turn off the TV. Let me understand the world doesn't revolve around basketball and my favorite entertainers, but there's much more to this. Let me take the time to, as a part of my culture, to understand economics. Let me take a few moments to understand it from that perspective. And let me understand economics across the board. How do economics play into a variety of different cultural systems, whether it's business, whether it's religion, wherever it is. Let me sit down and educate myself, because nobody else is going to do it for me. Nobody's going to come and say, let me educate you, because the more you're educated, the more you become a threat. So what you see me doing every time I go to the continent, I'm educating myself. I got quite the education in South Africa last week. I got quite the education in Sierra Leone earlier in the month. I had quite the education. My last trip before that was to Ghana. So there's clearly something in Ghana. I keep going back to Ghana and educating myself. But then even before that in Cote d'Ivoire, which is also known as Ivory Coast, quite the education. East Africa, quite the education. Going to Kenya and Uganda. I'll be going to Kenya and Uganda. Quite the education. I have a trip to Senegal coming up, into Cape Verde. Quite the education. Because at that point, once you have that education, nobody can take that from you. And you don't have to go to anybody's university to get this education. Now, it might cost you a few dollars to get it, and all your understanding, though it costs all you have, get understanding, get that wisdom, get that knowledge. And so sometimes people look at it in one context, but then sometimes when you tie the different contexts together, it all makes sense. You say, you know what? Though it might cost me a little bit, I'm going to get some understanding, because what happens at that point is you show up in the world differently. And when you show up in the world differently, now other people are willing to listen. Just like colonizers came through, they showed up a particular way. And they had a systemic way of going about doing it. And this was the part that was really fascinating, because they understood that if I affect your identity, if I affect your belief systems, then I can control your actions. I can control your behaviors. I can control your money. I can even shape your culture. And if I do this in a very particular way, it's not going to take me very long to do it. After 1 or 2 generations, I can impact all of the generations to come, simply because I show up a particular way, because I show up and I dominate. I make you want to be like me. I make you want to do things the way that I do it. And I tell you that the way that your forefathers and the people who went before you did it was wrong. And if you don't have any other frame of reference, you believe it. You don't even question it. And so when you look at yourself in the mirror, you say, I want to be more like them. That's why when Miss South Africa became Miss Universe, I think I'm saying that the right way, that sister, gorgeous sister. And chocolate sister, Miss Universe. I think Miss Universe. Yeah, I think Miss Universe. And so but growing up as children, we didn't see that. We weren't going to see that, because that wasn't the narrative that was trying to be pushed. The one thing about South Africa is you knew in all of those malls, and you saw all of those melanated brown models, you knew those were the people who were consuming. Now, that's a whole nother story about consumption and all of that. But in order for those malls to be able to be sustained, they had to have that economic base to be able to do it. And what you see happening in South Africa is, as they're becoming more and more educated, they're now making moves and opening their own businesses. Lancelot, who was working at the restaurant, he was waiting tables at the restaurant. And we said, well, what you doing, brother? He said, listen, I'm working here right now because I'm in the process of opening my own restaurant. So I was like, wow, this is what Lancelot said. This is what he said And this is a brother, from Soweto. He said, this is what I'm doing. And so imagine if we can get more and more of our young people to start thinking like that. That's when my son, he said, I said, son, I said, this, what you're doing right now, I know you're trying to figure it out. I know you're taking some gap time and trying to figure some things out in school. I said, understand this though, but never let your money slip. So whatever you need to do, you need to make sure that you keep your money flowing in. I said, because a whole bunch of people take gap time and they let the money slip. I said, so figure out a way to be able to sustain yourself. I said, I'm going to tell you how to make 6 figures a year, and you don't have to have any college degree or anything. I said, you just got to trust your dad. You just got to get, dad's a little old school. You know, I'm approaching that half century mark. I said, so just trust me. And he followed my system. And the boy, if he continues with it, he'll be making over $100,000 a year, 21 years old, and just figuring it out. I say, you got to pay some rent. You're not living in the house. You know what I mean? Me and his mom, like, you're going to pay some rent to live up in here with us, because you are a man. We're raising a man. You're going to be a father one day. You're going to be having other responsibilities. So don't get comfortable with this lifestyle. You just living up in somebody's house doing nothing. And so a lot of people raise their children like that. No, you got time, and they never feel the realities of the world. Eventually they're gonna have to pay something. Even if you give them a house, they have to pay taxes, property taxes. So I tell my sons all the time, I said, let me help you understand something. I said, let's accelerate this process. Let's not wait 5 years for you to figure it out. Let's figure this out this year. Let's figure it out this year. And then once you figure it out this year, then that's out of your system. And you haven't wasted 5 years fumbling around. So I told my middle son, and he's a different kind of personality. I said, look, man, he's a little more stubborn. I said, okay, cool. I know how to deal with stubborn. You know, I see all of my personality in you. So I got you. I know how to deal with you. And this is why fathers are so important too. This is why, I know the world is trying to erase fathers from the equation, but strong fathers, you're not going to erase, because they're going to step up regardless of whatever their ethnicity is. A strong father is going to say, you're not going to push me out of the way of raising my children. So I told him, I said, here's the deal. So you might just need to feel some of this pressure. So I actually let him kind of, it might not be the best term. I kind of let him just kind of lay there and rot for a while. And mean and say, okay, well, you want to just be that guy. You just want to be lazy and lay around and sleep all day. Okay, cool, no problem. You're going to watch all of your peers walk right past you. You're going to watch you're going to watch your little brother surpass you and everything. That's what you're going to do. You have all this talent, you have all this skill, you have all these different things that you can do, but you got this attitude that you've been spoiled. So get it? All right, I'll take that hit, but now I'm unspoiled. So I said, I let him say, do your thing. So you want to sit around the house and eat, and you want to start gaining all that weight? No problem, do your thing. Then I think one day he just kind of woke up and figured out that, you know what? I'm going to need to man up a little bit, because my kid brother's about to pass me by. And once he figured it out, he started getting about the bed. He started making moves. He started doing different things. And so now he's on his way. He's about to start his new job. He's going to be on a cruise ship working. And we were talking about his strategy. And I said, listen, this is the best thing for you. I said, this is the equivalent of boot camp. I said, because when you going on this cruise ship to work, they got him working 14 hours a day, 2 months straight, no days off. And so his mom was like, oh, no. I said, hey, it sounds like a good deal. She's like, you know what? He probably does need that. I said, because by the time he comes back, so we started calculating his money. I said, so this is what you're making. And I said, you want to do your restaurant, you want to do all these different things. I said, you probably need to do that for 2 years. I said, you don't have to pay rent. You don't have to. I said, this is your after-tax money. I said, after 2 years, you'll have enough money that's enough seed money for you to start your food truck. You'll have enough discipline. You'll learn how to cook all these high-end deals. I said, allow people to pay you to educate you. See, these are the things. Again, I know I'm just putting all this, how it's tied into Africa and everything. All of it ties in together. I said, so now once you get your money together and you have your resources, now you can create your own dishes. I said, you cook as good as anybody else. Your food is excellent. I said, we just got to work on your attitude. I said, but once we get this together and you mature and you have some resources and you build your credit and all these other things, so now we're on our way. And so now his conversation has started to change, because he needed some time to figure out nobody's going to come pick you up out of the bed. Nobody's going to come nurse you along and breastfeed you into maturity. You are a man. and you are growing into manhood. And so we need to expedite this process. We're not going to wait 10 years for you. Now, if you want to take 10 years and goof off and lay around, then, eventually that's going to run out. That's, you'll only do that for a certain period of time, and then that's going to run out. Younger son, he watches this whole process. So he goes and get himself a job. And he says, now he's still in high school. And he says, well, I already know how this thing is going to play out because I watched what happened with my two older brothers. So, okay, so now that you understand how this thing is going to play out, what are you going to do differently? So now he's got his aces grades and got all these other things going on. He's like, listen, I think I want to go to this particular college. I said, well, if you're going to, I said, really all this is about business. College is about business. People get caught up in emotion and the college experience and all that kind of stuff. I said, I had the college experience and didn't even stay on half of the campuses. I just knew how to work the system. I'm staying up in people's dorms, laying up in the room, all kind of stuff going on. I said, oh, I had the college experience, sure enough. So anyway, so I said, well, listen, if you want to do the college thing, you got to approach college like business. Got to approach it like business. If you approach it with emotion, then you're going to be all over the place. I say, you approach this thing. Now, each A, treat it like business, treat it like $10,000. And if you begin to do that and you begin to make sure your ACT and SAT scores and all of that are high, then you can look to qualify for some of the general scholarships. I said, because you already know we're not writing no checks and all type of foolishness. We're not doing that. Now, some people want to do it. That's fine. They feel obligated to do it. I don't. The Mrs. Does, she doesn't feel obligated. We don't feel obligated to do it. One, because we spend so much money on this private school. But on top of that, it's like, hey, man, you got to put in something towards your education. You're a grown man. So let's make this thing happen. Other people have other philosophies. I don't knock it, but as far as we're concerned, if you want to go someplace, let me show you the effort. And then if you really putting your heart into it and you come up a little short, then I'll help you get to the finish line. But if you're bojangling and not doing what you need to do, one thing I'm not going to do in my mid 40s or late 40s is go into the hole and then hope you decide I'm not going to go $100,000 into the hole in 45, 50 years old, talking about hoping that you come out and do something with it. And then we're all in the hole together for the next 20, 30 years and all of that. So we're not doing that in this household. And that's the beauty of, and that's another reason why I'm able to travel the world. And that's another reason why my older son is able to travel the world, because we have adopted a financial philosophy that helps us to be free from certain chains. When you understand the global system, it comes back to this again. The way that places are enslaved is because of the financial chains that they find themselves in. They do it on a country level, and they also do it on an individual level. So if you tie yourself to certain forms of debt that don't allow you to be free, then in essence, you have things on the wall that look good, but you don't have any real freedom because you can't go anywhere. You can't do anything, or you're just robbing Peter to pay Paul, trying to make things happen. So this is why I say it's so important to teach the young people. So, and so like for two of my sons, they're going their particular path. They're figuring it out. One of my sons, he's like, listen, I want to do the college route. I want to do that. Okay, son, let's break down and get these scholarships and do what needs to be done. Even if your grades aren't the best, there are private scholarships that you can get. This is why I've been talking about debt-free college for the past 12 years, because people can now see the freedom that they have when they don't have that ball and chain around their neck, all the way through the doctorate level. The young man right now, he's getting his doctorate degree. He's done undergrad debt-free, got his master's debt-free. He's about to do his doctorate degree debt-free because he listened to the principles, and we kept drilling it in, and saying, you got to understand, this thing is about positioning. This is about positioning. Wherever you are in the world, it's about positioning. And if you position yourself properly, you'll be able to make certain moves and avoid certain pitfalls. And so that's what you see happening. So that's what you see going on. Those are the lessons I'm going to be taking to the continent of Africa, wherever I go. South Africa, North Africa, East Africa, West Africa, Central Africa, and still here in America. And those who are partaking and participating on these tours, again, like I said, we're not having lectures about debt-free college and all of that. We're going to have a great time as far as from the historical standpoint, from the culture standpoint, from the spas, to all those different things that people want to do. But I just wanted to offer this today to help everybody understand this thing is much deeper than taking tours to Africa. This thing is a global educational initiative. And when we start connecting people and resources and all of that, the whole ball game changes. So anyway, If you just tuned in, I'm getting ready to hop off. If you just tuned in, you can watch this whole thing again. It's got a whole lot in there. You got you got you got a whole lot of conversation in here. But I will tell you this much: if you hear what was said and you adjust and position yourself, you will see where I'm getting ready to go with the thing. I've talked about a lot of things over the past 25 years, 30 years. But this right here is gold. And that's one another reason why I'm going to Ghana, because the Gold Coast is gold. And a lot of people are going to benefit from it. I feel it. I sense it. I already know. Certain things in my life where I felt and sensed certain things. And this is just another one of them. A lot of people talk about living on purpose. And that's the cultural language. Living on purpose. You live on purpose. When you live on purpose, for real, there's nothing that anyone can do to deter you or stop you from that purpose. Even if you develop haters, and I used to acknowledge and give haters, because anybody who hates this is not even worth entertaining. When you talk about empowering people on 2 continents and anybody who's hating on that, not even worth the time of day. They're in a pathetic state. And so you just all you have to do with people like that, just let them wallow in their own dirty diaper, and eventually they'll fizzle themselves out. Their own mess will overtake them. So you don't even worry about that. But when you are truly in your purpose, just to kind of go with that, you just do it. And you just do it. And you just do it. And you just keep doing it. And you don't even worry about the other stuff. Frustration is going to come. Stuff comes along with the territory. But you just do it. And you just keep planting seeds and planting seeds and planting seeds and planting seeds and planting seeds. And as those seeds begin to grow, and I'm just reminded of the old passage that says that you know a tree by the fruit that it bears. You just sit back and you watch. And you keep planting the seeds and planting the seeds and planting the seeds, and someone else will come along and water it. And then the next thing you know, you look up and you say, wow, isn't that something? Too often we get distracted because we listen to what naysayers have to say. And we listen to what people who have to say, who play the role of the discouraging colonizer who wants to come along and say, no, that's not right. They want to block that out, because now is the time for those who are learning and who are willing to learn, who know that something's been off, and they've been trying to connect these dots. And I don't care which country, continent, wherever you live, it doesn't matter, because I have these same conversations in Africa just like I have them in America. And I'll go over to Ghana and I'll do one of these lives right from Ghana, probably as soon as I land. You'll be getting updates all the time, because people need to know. And as people are learning, each person who tells a story, they tell a story from their perspective. Some people tell a more traditional story and they take you through that route. Some people tell a more cultural story. Some people tell a more upscale kind of story. Some people tell a more rural story. My story is more economics, kind of blending it all together to try to say, this is the game that we're playing, and tying it in with the culture and the creative arts, and these 2 wonderful twins, Darren and Destiny, in this book series, as we begin to educate our children and teach them and show them different ways of understanding all these different places, that these places are not to be feared. And that's why these books are going to be, I'm going to tell you right now, these books are going to be in millions of people's hands by the time it's all said and done, millions of people's hands. Because as more and more people are waking up, more and more people are going to start saying, we have to educate our children. And this is other ethnicities. I participated in a group of people, Afro-Latino children, and they were learning. Some of them were Asian children. Some of them were Latino children. And some of them were brown children, but they were learning about these different countries, and they had the flags, and they understood that, one day I might want to go visit Ghana and see what's happening. See, this is the solution. This isn't just some brother just sitting there talking and complaining. I'm not gonna just sit here and talk and complain. I'm gonna bring you some solutions along the way. So we have the books, we have the tours, we have the maximum impact curriculum that's getting ready to come. You're gonna want your children to be a part, your young people to be a part of these lessons as we offer them strategies for success. And as you see my son who's 21 years old, who's earned his own money, who's doing his own thing, who's had some tough lessons to go through, but he's learning. And these are even for young adults. This is what I said, because adults need this stuff too. How do I navigate? How do I go from minimum wage to becoming a millionaire? And that's one of the things I'm teaching my children, because I used to work for minimum wage, and I know what that thing is like. I know how to sit there and like, man, yeah, I'm working hard, but it's all y'all paying me. But how do you go from that meager? And back in those days, it was like 3.30, $5 an hour. That now they're like 11 something an hour. But how do you take that and turn that into something over time and accelerate the process? And these are the lessons that we're going to be teaching across the board. How do we help renovate the school in Kumasi in Ghana? How do we help build a library in the shanty town in Soweto? And it doesn't cost a lot. You're talking about less than $10,000, and these children can have resources. And guess what we're going to do? In all the books, all these Darren and Destiny books, we're going to donate to the children in Africa, where they can learn about other African countries. And then I'm not going to tell you, there's something else I'm about to do with Darren and Destiny. I can't say it yet because, you got thieves in the temple out here. So you can't put all your ideas out, because next thing you know, you see it somewhere on blast. But there's something else I'm getting ready to do with them that embodies a lot of these lessons, and I'm excited about that. So anyway, go back, watch this again. Hopefully we'll catch you on one of our tours, maximumimpacttravel.com. You can watch the replay that we did today at bit.ly. It's all right there in the description, bit.ly/Ghana Summer 2021. It was a Q&A that I did, talking and answering questions. Hopefully we'll see you this July, August this summer. On one of the upcoming tours. You're going to be seeing us going full throttle with all of this. You're going to be tired of seeing me talking about all these different things, but guess what? When you live in your purpose, you do what you got to do unapologetically. So anyway, everybody have a great evening. Now, what do I want to close out with tonight? I'll talk about Darren and Destiny. So let's close out with Darren and Destiny, and we'll see you soon.
Open up your eyes and see all the fun and mystery. Take an African adventure with Darren and Destiny. From the mountains to the shore, so many things to explore. Take an African adventure with Darren and Destiny. Open up your eyes and see